The events of the film begin with a small car named Herbie, which took part in many races but lost every time, so its owner eventually sold it to a junk dealer named Dave, where it is discovered that the car can move on its own and possesses sensitivity and abilities similar to those of humans. And when Dave criticizes her, she gets her revenge by dirtying his shoe and face with her exhaust, dragging him behind her with a rope and staining his clothes. Then, the story moves to the graduation ceremony, where the student Maggie appears, arriving on a skateboard to receive her diploma. She then leaves the university with her father and sees her friend pull up in her new car. Her friend tells her that her parents gave her the car to celebrate her graduation, which makes Maggie jealous, though she doesn't show it. Then Maggie goes with her father to watch her brother Ray's race, which he loses, and he remains upset the whole way back. That night, the father hangs Maggie's diploma in the living room and tells her that the next day he will buy her a graduation gift and that she will get to choose it herself. And the next day, the father takes Maggie to the junkyard to buy a cheap car, but none of them appeal to her. And when Maggie sits in one of the cars, the old Herbie starts making noise and moving to get her attention so that she'll buy it. But Maggie leaves without paying any attention to it. And at that moment, the crane arrives and takes Herbie away, while Maggie goes back to her father and tells him that she didn't like anything. And meanwhile, the crane moves Herbie to another spot, and Maggie notices a car that she likes. And her father sees Herbie and urges her to buy it quickly, but Maggie refuses. Then the crane lifts Herbie very high and by mistake drops him onto the car Maggie liked, destroying it. So Maggie is forced to buy Herbie, and then the car is cleaned and Maggie gets in. But inside, she finds a message asking her to take care of this car because it solves problems. But Maggie doesn't pay any attention and throws it away. Maggie starts the car and begins to drive it, while Herbie starts moving on its own, and Maggie is so scared she can't even scream. But Herbie drives properly and takes her all the way to the garage. When the mechanic Kevin sees her coming in at full speed, he panics and falls to the ground. Then Maggie gets out and sees him, and they immediately recognize each other because they were friends in school. Maggie tells him that she bought this car from Dave and that she wants to have it repaired because it keeps breaking down. And Kevin assures her that he can fix it and that there's no need to send it to the scrapyard. But he insists that it's essential to take it for a test drive to identify the problem. So Maggie agrees. The two of them hit the road, and the car drives itself at high speed and performs reckless maneuvers, which impresses Kevin. And he tells Maggie that he didn't expect her to have such driving skills. And she explains to him that the car is driving itself. Then, Herbie heads into a crowded street, still driving on its own, and Maggie manages to stop it before it runs anyone over. Then Kevin asks her to be more careful while driving, and Maggie repeats that it's the car that's driving itself, but he doesn't believe her. Then they get out of the car, and at that moment, the racing champion named Trip arrives and people gather around him. He tells them that he has invited them all to his race, so they get excited and ask him for autographs, while Maggie gets annoyed and decides to leave Herbie in the street and leave on her skateboard. But Herbie starts making a loud noise, so Maggie comes back and opens the hood to stop the horn. But Herbie gets her dirty with black oil. Then Kevin finds a helmet and new clothes in the car and gives them to Maggie, who goes to change. Trip continues signing autographs for people. And Kevin deliberately bumps into him and ruins his D signature, which makes Trip angry, and he mocks Maggie and her car. But they ignore his words and get into the car. Then Herbie starts up all by herself and charges toward Trip's car, scratching and wrecking it while people watch the scene and think Maggie did it, and they demand a race between Maggie and Trip. So Trip accepts and Kevin gets out of the car, and Maggie tries to get out too, but the car locks her door and drives off by itself to the race location. The race begins, and Trip is in the lead, but Herbie takes control of the situation and easily beats him. And at the same time, people are cheering for Maggie while Trip gets angry and forbids anyone from filming him. Then Maggie goes back to the garage with Kevin, and Kevin tells her that she's a champion and that she beat the driver Trip, and he thinks she should consider returning to racing. So Maggie replies that she'll think about it. Maggie goes home and finds her father and the family friend Sally. She comes in and puts the TV on the channel that broadcasts the race between Maggie and Trip, which upsets her father, and he leaves the house while Maggie follows him, and her father scolds her because she had promised him not to take part in street races since he almost lost her a second time and doesn't want to go through that again. And he also says that he knows she met Kevin, who might encourage her to get into racing. So Maggie assures him that she wasn't driving herself and that she wanted to tell him there's something strange about that car, but she changes her mind and claims that Kevin's friend named Max borrowed the car and that he was the one who drove in the race. So her father believes her, and then Maggie goes to Kevin's garage, where he tells her that he has identified the car's problems and that he's going to fix it. And he assures her that this car has extraordinary power and that it can be turned into a real champion for the race that Tripp is going to organize. But Maggie replies that what happened during the race was just luck and that she will leave town to start a new life in New York because she promised her father she would never race again since her last race ended in the hospital. At the garage, the race poster is up and the first prize is $10,000 for whoever finishes first. And when Maggie gets into the car to leave, Herbie grabs the poster and puts it in front of her. So Maggie looks at the prize amount, is stunned, and decides to accept and participate. And Kevin tells her that he'll fix the car and that if they win, they'll split the money. Then Maggie and Kevin start repairing the car. But after several days, they still can't get it back in proper shape. And yet, Maggie goes to sign up for the competition, and Tripp sees her and makes fun of her car. So Maggie tells him that she came to support her friend Max because he was the one who beat her in the previous race. And it becomes clear that Maggie doesn't want anyone to know she was the driver. So she decides to wear a helmet to hide her identity. Then the race begins, and we learn that the winner of this round will face Tripp in the final. And throughout the heats, Herbie keeps winning, and Maggie's fan base grows, and people ask her for autographs, but they don't know her real identity since they know her as Max. Tripp looks at the photos taken during the competition and notices that Maggie's hair is sticking out from under the helmet. And at night, Maggie meets Tripp, who asks her why she doesn't drive herself and why she doesn't race alone when she's such an excellent driver. And he says that his grandfather was a professional racer and that he's the reason he got into this field. So Maggie tries to avoid answering and says she has to go home, and Tripp offers her to try driving a real car. So Maggie agrees and leaves with him, gets into his car, and goes for a ride while Tripp takes advantage of her absence to go over to Herbie and open the hood to reduce its speed. But Herbie pours oil on him, so Tripp gets angry and starts hitting her violently. But Herbie pushes him away and he falls to the ground. Then Maggie comes back from her joyful ride and tells Tripp that she's never driven a car like this before. And Tripp suggests a bet where they would swap his car for hers. But Maggie hesitates at first, yet Tripp convinces her, and at the same time, Herbie feels sad hearing that Maggie might abandon him. The next day, Maggie goes to the kitchen and finds her friend Charisma, who has come to visit her. And Maggie gets annoyed because she wants to go to the race without anyone knowing. So, she's forced to take Charisma to the garage, but she doesn't tell her about the race. And then, Kevin repeats that there's something strange about Herbie and asks Maggie if she left him at Tripp's place. And before Maggie can answer him, Charisma arrives and Kevin asks Maggie to go get ready and says he'll take care of Charisma. Then, the race between Maggie and Tripp begins, but Herbie doesn't make any effort to win. And when they reach the finish line, Herbie suddenly stops and lets Tripp win, while Maggie gets angry and realizes that Herbie did it on purpose. Then Tripp comes over to provoke her and asks her to show her face to the crowd. So, Maggie takes off her helmet and her real face is revealed. And her father was among the spectators and he sees her. Then Tripp brings in the crane to take Herbie, while Kevin tries to stop him. But Tripp tells him that he had agreed with Maggie that if she lost the race, the car would be his. This shocks Kevin, and he is saddened by Maggie's behavior. Maggie gets into Charisma's car, who tells her that she was amazing in today's race, and that she should come back to racing because she's loved it since she was a child. So Maggie thinks it over and goes to see Tripp to demand her car back. But Tripp tells her that she arrived too late, and meanwhile, Tripp's assistant takes Herbie to a car show packed with spectators. Then Maggie arrives and asks the owner of the venue to give her back her car, but he refuses. Then a huge car enters, intending to destroy Herbie. But Maggie asks Charisma to distract the guard. Then she goes down into the hall, approaches Herbie, and assures her that she's come back for her and that she needs to hold on. Then Herbie regains her strength, and suddenly the giant car charges at Maggie, but Herbie saves her at the last second and lets her get on board. Then she knocks over Tripp's assistant in the middle of the crowd, and Maggie takes the wheel and manages to escape from the other cars. And finally, the giant car crashes and leaves the hall. Then Herbie goes to Kevin's garage, who is delighted to learn that Maggie has gotten Herbie back. Then Maggie and Kevin go to watch her brother Ray's race, and during the race, Ray crashes into the wall and is taken to the hospital. The doctor tells them that Ray has a problem with his left eye, that he has lost deep sensation there. and that he needs to undergo a full examination and cannot participate in tomorrow's race. So Ray suggests to his father that their only chance to win is for Maggie to race in his place. But the father refuses at first. However, Maggie reminds him that he always supports Ray and helps him pursue his dream, while he took racing away from her because of a single accident. And the father says he doesn't want to lose her a second time after already losing her once. That night, Maggie finds herself in Kevin's garage, and Ray comes to confirm to her that she will race tomorrow in his place, and Maggie is surprised and reminds him that their father refuses. But Ray explains to her that their father always says she is the team leader, and that he spoke with the whole team, and they all want her to replace him. So Maggie is very happy. Then Kevin and the team start repairing Maggie's car, and he finishes very quickly that same night. Tripp attends the race, and when he sees Maggie and her car, he gets annoyed and scolds his assistant because he lied to him, saying the car was destroyed. Then all the drivers get into their cars, and the race begins. And since there are a lot of competitors, Maggie is placed at the back, but she moves up and catches up with the leaders, while the other cars try to box her in the middle to keep her from winning. But Maggie doesn't panic. Then she hears her father's voice in her earpiece, encouraging her and assuring her that she's a talented driver and that she can win. So Maggie regains her confidence and manages to break free from the trap, but Herbie starts leaking oil and warns Kevin when it's time for maintenance, and the cars stop to fix their breakdowns. And Kevin and the team repair Maggie's car, but they warn her that it might not last a full lap. So Maggie decides to quit the race, but Herbie refuses and takes off on her own. Then Maggie manages to get back in the lead and finds herself neck and neck with Tripp, who violently crashes into Maggie's car and keeps pushing her toward the wall. So Maggie suddenly pulls her car back and Tripp loses control, hits the wall by mistake, and his car flips over. Next, Maggie floors it, overtakes the other cars, takes first place, and wins the race. Maggie earns $10,000 thanks to Herbie's skills. And loses, because she has become loyal to her and she achieved her dream, which seemed almost impossible.